Hello scholars, welcome back to IOS YouTube channel where we make research easy and simple for you to understand. As you know that this is the second part of research methodology, which is the chapter 3. In the first part, I have explained to you the basic concept that involve in research methodology in both secondary or primary data. But today we'll be looking at a practice work on your research methodology. So don't forget that I explained to you that methodology in research is the most important and core aspect of your research. If you make any mistake here, all your effort and your resources you are putting in your chapter 1 and chapter 2 or previous chapter rather is going to be in waste, because this is the chapter that is going to show you how you want to achieve your aim and your objective that you have been battling with and the variable you have been battling with in your chapter 1 and chapter 2. So if you now make any mistake here, all your chapter 1, chapter 2, or the previous efforts, maybe monetary or resources you have put in place to get to this point, is going to be waste. So what you have to do when you get to chapter 3, you just need to be very careful. And that's why we are here for you, the IOS and Institute of Scholars. So as this class is moving on, I will advise you, if you have any question by the end of this class, kindly drop it in our comment box, and make sure you like and subscribe us and subscribe uh, on our channel. So let me continue with the class. So today we are looking at the practical one, the practical aspect of your chapter 2, how your chapter 2 should look like. Sorry, chapter 3 rather, how your chapter 3 should look like. Now look at the right up here. You can see that right up here is telling you that this chapter is also called research methodology. And I said, I quote, it is a crucial section that outline how of the research. Note this is a crucial section, most important section. So what does this place, what does the methodology um, work on is how, plan, strategy of how you are going to achieve your objective in the main analysis, which is the chapter 4. If you go through our post on this YouTube, you see how to analyze project work using SPSS is there. You can search for it. That will definitely help you for your analysis in chapter 4. But here it's just like a plan. This stage is not the main analysis. This stage is to explain. You can see it said it's outline how to achieve the objective in the main analysis, or let me put it this way, how to analyze the objective or the hypothesis in your main work, either in your chapter 1. So here, listen to let's look at this right up now. It says it provides a detailed blueprint of the study, describe the research design. So now they are explaining the concept that involve in the chapter 3, which is your methodology. So it's you are going to deal with the concept of research design, which is going to tell us, are we using quantitative or qualitative analysis. So the population and the sample techniques to be used is going to tell us here, and how we need to carry out the analysis. Then the instruments for collection of data. So are we using interview? Are we using secondary data? Are we using primary data? Then for the sampling techniques, you see we have various sampling techniques. Like I said in our last class, that we have probability sampling techniques and non-probability sampling techniques. All these are going to showcase in your chapter 3. It's just tell us the specific procedure we need to follow, before we can carry out our analysis. It's just an outline. It's just like a proposal that shows what you intend to do in your chapter 4, and how you intend to achieve your aims and objectives in your chapter 4. So now you can see that we have this. Then let's move to the next subheadings. We have research design. Don't forget, I explained to you that inside this research design, that is when we are going to know, are we using qualitative or quantitative data. So based on this topic, it's obvious that we are using a qualitative data. So they said this study will adopt a descriptive survey research design. So once it involves survey, it means we need to go to the field. That shows it is qualitative data. So it is not getting a numeric or quantitative secondary data. So it involves survey. That means the researcher of this particular work is need to go to the field to gather more information or more data in order to carry out this analysis. So this design is appropriate as it allows the researcher to describe the characteristics of the population or phenomena being studied. In this case, in this case, it will be used to describe the current state of teacher qualification, the number of contact hours, the level of French among the SS2 students in the selected school. So this is telling us, it obviously shows that this analysis is going to use qualitative data. Now here we have another subheadings where we have the variable of the study. So actually this based on your department or your faculty or by your supervisor. If your supervisor instructs you that you need to include the variable of the study, but it is not really necessary in a broad sense of research. But if you are asked to include it, then you need to identify the variable in your study where we have two major variables, the dependent variable and the independent variable. So in this study now, where we are talking about independent variable, independent variables are variables that we can easily manipulate. You can easily manipulate that. Then dependent variable is other variable that depends on independent variable. For instance, they said independent variables, these are variables that performs, these are the variables that are presumed to influence or cause a change in another variable. You understand? It can influence the other variable. So then in this study now, the independent variables we have here is shortage of qualified French teacher is one of the independent variable we have here. So let's move on. Insufficient in contact hours is one of the independent variable, but the dependent variable here are variable uh, uh, that is influenced by the independent variables, such as senior secondary school, two, that is SS2 student proficiency in French. So this variable refers to the student level of knowledge, skills, and ability in French. So this is telling us the variable there we have to tell us the dependent and independent variables in your study. Actually, like I said, this is not necessary, or else if it is required by your supervisor. But population of the study is highly necessary and highly needed. So we need to understand the population of your study. What is the population of your study? Then you can know your population of your study from the scope of your study, that is the area you want to cover for the research. So like this work now, the scope of this work is Ibadan North local government area. So this is the scope. Then the population is the number of SS2 students in this area, are the populations we are looking at. You can see that it's talking about the population of this study. The population of this study consists of all SS2 students in French, blah, blah, blah. You understand what I'm saying like that. So, however, being unable to access the accurate figure of the total number of SS2 students in every schools in Ibadan North local government. Here is the list of some schools that the researcher will be looking at. Aberdeen College in UI Ibadan, Anglican Commercial Grammar School, Total Garden, Anglican Commercial Grammar School, Orita Mefa, IMG Grammar School, Yemetu, Aladorin. So like that and so on and so on. So these are about 10 schools that the researcher wants to, want to um, penetrate under Ibadan North local government. So now, after the population of the study, we know that we cannot capture all the population. Then we need to introduce what we call sample. We need to introduce sample and the sample techniques that we are using. As we know that sample is a subset of the population, it represents the total population, representative. So it represents the total population. Then the sampling techniques, which sampling techniques do we want to adopt? Now we have different stage of sampling techniques there. We have stratified sample, and when we are talking about stratified sampling, it shows that we have two different groups that we want to separate. For here, the stratified groups that we have here are public schools and private schools, and that's why the researcher is introducing stratified sampling, because that means we have two stratum, so which is private and public school. Out of the 10 schools, 10 secondary schools is going to deal with both private and public schools. So then, stage two, the researcher also introduced what we call purposive sampling. Purposive sampling is under non-probability sampling techniques, where the researcher purposely, intentionally selects in some particular school, not simple random sampling, not by randomization. It is by purpose, by intentions to do it. So the researcher will purposely select a total of 10 schools, from 5 from public schools stratums and 5 from private school stratums. Do you see what we are talking about? That is purposive. But the last stage of the sampling techniques is simple random sampling. So after selecting 10 schools, and we have 5 public schools, 5 public private schools, then the researcher will now use simple random sampling to select the students that are going to administer the research instrument to. So let's move on. So the next heading we have here is research instruments. This is one of the important aspects of your methodology. Which instrument do you have in you are intending to use, or which instrument do you have intentions to use? Are we talking about questionnaire? Are we talking about observation? Are we talking about an interview? This is where you are going to know. So two main instruments will be used for data collection here. The instruments we have here, we have questionnaire, and we have French proficiency text (FPT). Then we have French student questionnaire. Actually, with this research, the main instrument we are using here is questionnaire. So, and the questionnaire is now subdivided into two parts, which shows that there is one part of questionnaire that's supposed to be answered by the French teacher of that particular school, and the other part is to be answered by the SS2 student, which we want to test the knowledge of the student on French. Then the other one we have here, the French students questionnaire, which encompasses of the questionnaire that is going to be administered to the students to collect data on their demography information, their perception of their teaching qualification, and the adequacy of their French contact hours. Okay, by now I feel you should understand that. Now, another most important concept in this chapter is validity and reliability of the instrument. Validity and reliability of the instrument. So this instrument, it is used to ensure that the research objective in the topic are clearly captured by the questionnaire. You know, we know that the instrument that we are using is now questionnaire. So the questionnaire must be speaking the same language of the research objectives. So your questionnaire must not be saying something else outside the box of your research objective. Let me just say it like this: your research question, your questionnaire should base on your research objective. Each questions of your questionnaire should base on your research objective. That is what the validity of the instrument is talking about. But when your questionnaire is outside the box, is not speaking the same language that we have in the research objective, then it shows that the instrument is not valid. It's not valid. Then let's move to the reliability of the instrument. Reliability of the instrument is to ensure that we measured what it's supposed to be measured. It shows the reliability of the instrument refers to the consistency of the instrument in measuring what's supposed to be measured. That is, if another researcher work on the same on the same topic, the same sample, use the same method, we must have the same results. That is what reliability means. So it shows that it is reliable. Then let's move to the most important section here also, where we have our 3.8, where we have procedure for collection of data. You have to explain to us what is the procedure for you to collect your data. So like according to this paper now, the researcher will personally administer the research instruments. Permission will first be sought from the school authorities of the selected schools. So the researcher will explain the purpose of the study to the students and the teacher and ensure them of the confidentiality of their responses. So this is one of the procedure of a research instrument. Now, this is the main work, and which is the last work, which is talking about the method of data analysis. This aspect is telling us, is the one that's going to show us clearly the method that we want to use to carry out that analysis. Here we should be able to explain if you want to use XPSS, if you want to use any other statistical tools, and do you want to use Excel. This is where we are going to know. And the method analysis is telling us that, are we using purely descriptive or both descriptive and inferential? If you look at this, you can see that the collected data will be analyzed using both descriptive and inferential statistics. So in the method of data analysis here, that is where we are going to know what we are talking about. So here we have research questions. Research questions. It said the research question will be answered based on descriptives such as frequency count, percentage, mean score. Then the hypotheses will be texted using inferential statistics. Using inferential statistics. So with this, I believe that you should be able to handle your chapter 3 of your research paper on your own. Or if you find this class meaningful and helpful to you, kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and comment. And you can even recommend our channel to your friends that are having issues with their research work. So thank you for watching.